Hello friends, welcome to LS Academy for Technical Education. In today's video, we'll discuss the MCQ based on Unit 1 and Unit 2 of the subject Deep Learning with subject code RCS 086 as per AKTU Lucknow Syllabus. And this is the Part 1 which is based on the Unit 1 and Unit 2. In the next video, we will discuss about the Part 2 based on the Unit 3 and Unit 4. So let's start from question number 1. In which of the following applications can we use deep learning to solve a problem? A. Protein structure prediction. B. Prediction of chemical reactions. C. Detection of exotic particles. D. All of these. And the correct answer is all the options A, B, C and are correct. So correct option is D. All of the above. जितने भी ऊपर दे रखे हैं ऑप्शंस सभी में हम क्या करते हैं डीप लर्निंग के एप्लीकेशंस को यूज करते हैं इसलिए D is the correct option. Which of the following are universal approximators? A. Kernel as support vector machine. B. Neural networks. C. Boosted decision tree. And D. All of the above. And the correct answer is D. All of the above. Statement 1. It is possible to train a network well by initializing all the weights as 0. Statement 2. It is possible to train a network well by initializing biases as 0. Which of the following statement gives above is true? A. Statement 1 is true while true is false. B. Statement 2 is true while statement 1 is false. C. Both statements are true. And D. Both statements are false. And the correct statement is statement number 2 is correct while statement number 1 is false. इसका मतलब है सभी जो न्यूरल नेटवर्क होता है उसमें इनिशियली बायस की वैल्यू तो हम 0 लेते हैं लेकिन वेट की वैल्यू 0 नहीं लेते हैं सो बी स्टेटमेंट 2 इज करेक्ट एंड स्टेटमेंट 1 इज फॉल्स इज द करेक्ट आंसर सो बी इज द राइट ऑप्शन in the neural network every parameter can have their different learning rate is it true or false and the correct option is A true which of the following would have a constant input in each epoch of training a deep learning model A weight between input and hidden layer B. Weight between hidden layer and output layer. C. Bias of all hidden neurons. D. Activation function of output layer. And E. None of the above. And the correct answer is weight between input and hidden layer. Back propagation cannot be applied when using pooling layers. A. True. B. False. And the correct option is B. False. Sentiment analysis using deep learning is a many to one prediction task. A. True. B. False. And the correct option is A. True. Which of the following is false about support vectors? A. The support vector are the subset of data points that determine the max margin separator. B. The Lagrangian multipliers correspond to the support vector are non-zero. C. The support vectors are used to decide which side of the separator a test case is on. D. The max margin separator is a non-linear combination of the support vector. And the correct answer is D. The max margin separator is a non-linear combination of the support vectors. After training and support vector machine, we can discard all examples which don't support vectors and can still classify new examples. A true, B false. And the correct option is A true. Logistic regression is a dash regression technique that is used to model data having a dash outcome. A. Linear and numeric. B. Linear and binary. C. Non-linear and numeric. And D. Non-linear and binary. Correct option is D. Non-linear and binary. इसका मतलब है कि logistic regression is a non-linear regression technique that is used to model data having a binary outcome. So D is the correct option. Which of the following method do we use to best fit the data in logistic regression? A. Least square error. B. Maximum likelihood. C. Jaccard distance. D. Both A and B. And the correct option is B. Maximum likelihood. Which of the following evaluation metrics cannot be applied in case of logistic regression output to compare with target? A. AUC-ROC. B. Accuracy. C. Log loss. And D. Mean squared error. And the correct option is mean squared error. Which of the following option is true? A. Linear regression errors value have to be normally distributed, but in case of logistic regression, it is not the case. Second option B. Logistic regression error value has to be normally distributed, but in case of linear regression, it is not the case. C. Both linear regression and logistic regression error values have to be normally distributed. D. Both linear regression and logistic regression error value have not to be normally distributed. And the correct option is A. Linear regression errors value have to be normally distributed, while in case of logistic regression it is not the case. So A is the correct answer. In logistic regression, the logit is A. The natural logarithms of the odds, B. An instruction to record the data, C. A logarithm of a digit, D. The cube root of the sample size. And the correct answer is A. The natural logarithms of the odds. In logistic regression, A. The -2 log likelihood is a measure of lack of fit for the logistic model. The smaller the value, the poorer the fit between the observed data and the model. B. The -2 log likelihood is a measure of lack of fit of a single B coefficient. The smaller the value, the poorer the fit between the observed data and the model. C. The -2 log likelihood is a measure of goodness of fit of the logistic model. The smaller the value, the closer the fit between the observed data and the model. And D option, the -2 log likelihood is a measure of goodness of fit of a single B coefficient. The smaller the value, the closer the fit between the observed data and the model. And the correct option is C. The -2 log likelihood is a measure of goodness of fit of the logistic model. The smaller the value, the closer the fit between the observed data and the model. What is the use of the learnable parameters in batch normalization layer? A. Calculate mean and variance. B. Perform normalization. C. Renormalize the activation. D. No learnable parameter is present. And the correct option is C. Renormalize the activation. What is not a reason of using dropout? A. Prevent overfitting. B. Better generalization. C. Regularization. D. Reduce computation time during testing. And the correct option is D. Reduce computation time during testing. Consider a circle in two dimension whose center is at the origin. What is its VC dimension? A1, B2, C3, D4, and B2 is the correct answer. Generative models learns A. Joint probability, B. Posterior probability, C. Prior, D. All of the above. And the correct option is A. Joint probability. Which of the following statement is are true for gradient descent and stochastic gradient descent? First, in GD and SGD, you update a set of parameters in an iterative manner to minimize the error function. Number two, in stochastic gradient descent, you have to run through all the samples in your training set for a single update of a parameter in each iteration. Third, in GD, you either use the entire data or a subset of training data for update the parameters in each iteration. तो कौन सा स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है? A only 1, B only B, C only 3, D 1 and 2. And the correct option is A only 1, यानी कि फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट जो है सिर्फ वही करेक्ट है. कौन सा है फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट? That in GD and SGD you update a set of parameters in an iterative manner to minimize the error function. Generative models learns A. Joint probability, B. Posterior probability, C. Prior, D. All of the above. And the correct option is A. Joint probability. Shallow network computer is a neural network having dash hidden layer A1, B2, C3, D4. And the correct option is कि shallow network computer में सिर्फ एक hidden layer होती है. So A is the correct option. When an experienced deep learning engineer works on a new problem, they can usually use insight from previous problem to train a good model on the first try without needing to iterate multiple times through different model. True or false? A option true, B option false. So B option false is the correct answer. What does a neuron compute? A neuron computes an activation function followed by a linear function z equal to wx plus b. B option, a neuron computes a linear function z equal to wx plus b followed by an activation function. C, a neuron computes a function g that scales the input x linearly wx plus b. And D, a neuron computes the mean of all features before applying the output to an activation function. And the correct option is B. A neuron computes a linear function z equal to wx plus b followed by an activation function. What is the cache used for in our implementation of forward propagation and backward propagation? A. It is used to cache the intermediate values of the cost function during training. B. We use it to pass variables computed during forward propagation to the corresponding backward propagation steps. It contains useful values for backward propagation to compute derivatives. C. It is used to keep track of the hyperparameters that we are searching over to speed up computation. And D. We use it for to pass variables computed during backward propagation to the corresponding forward propagation step. It contains useful values for forward propagation to compute activation. And the correct option is B. Which of the following statement is true? A. The deeper layers of a neural network are typically computed more complex features of the input than the earlier layers. B. The earlier layers of a neural network are typically computed more complex features of the input than the deeper layer. And the correct option is A. Here are certain functions with the following properties. First, to compute the function using a shallow network circuit, you will need a large network where we measure size by the number of logic gates in the network. Second, to compute it using a deep network circuit, you need only an exponential small network. A ट्रू बी फॉल्स, क्या ये दोनों स्टेटमेंट ट्रू हैं या दोनों स्टेटमेंट फॉल्स हैं? तो ए ट्रू इज द करेक्ट आंसर कि दोनों के दोनों स्टेटमेंट ट्रू हैं. लॉजिस्टिक रिग्रेशंस वेट w should be initialized randomly rather than to all zeros, because if you initialize to all zeros then logistic regression will fail to learn a useful decision boundary because it will fail to break symmetry. It's true or false? तो ए ऑप्शन ट्रू का है, बी फॉल्स का है एंड करेक्ट आंसर इज बी फॉल्स. व्हाट आर द कॉमनली यूज्ड सॉफ्टवेयर टूल्स फॉर विजुअल कंप्यूटिंग? ए मशीन लर्निंग, बी कन्वोल्यूशनल न्यूरल नेटवर्क, सी कंप्यूटर विजन, डी पैरोच. एंड द करेक्ट ऑप्शन इज डी. For an image recognition problem such as recognizing a cat in a photo, which architecture of neural network has been found to be better suited for the task? A. Multilayer perceptron, B. Recurrent neural network, C. Convolutional neural network, D. Perceptron. And the correct option is C. Convolutional neural network. Which one of the following are regression tasks? A. Predict the age of a person, B. Predict the country from where the person comes from, C. Predict whether the price of petroleum will increase tomorrow, D. Predict whether a document is related to science. And the correct option of regression task is A. One question is, I am the marketing consultant of a leading e-commerce website. I have been given the task of making a system that recommends product to users based on their activity on Facebook. I realize this user interested could be highly variable. Hence, I decided to first cluster the users into communities of like-minded people, and second, train separate models for each community to predict which product category would be the most relevant to that community. The first is a dash learning problem while the second is a dash learning problem. Choose from the options. A. Supervised and unsupervised, B. Unsupervised and supervised, C. Supervised and supervised, D. Unsupervised and unsupervised. तो correct option is पहले वाले में टास्क में unsupervised learning है, जबकि दूसरे वाले टास्क में आपकी supervised learning. What is unsupervised learning? A. Feature of group explicitly stated, B. Number of groups may be known, C. Neither feature and nor number of groups is known, D. None of the mentioned. And the correct option is unsupervised learning में neither feature and nor number of groups is known. The batch normalization layer does not introduce any new parameters. Is it true or false? And the correct option is B, false. A deep neural network with linear activation functions throughout and no bias paper is equivalent to a shallow neural network. Is it true or false? And A, true is the correct option. Which we can use backpropagation to train a deep neural network only if all the hidden layers in the network have the same activation function. A, true, B, false. And the correct option is B, false. What are the steps for using a gradient descent algorithm? First, calculate error between the actual value and the predicted value. Second, reiterate until you find the best weights of network. Third, pass an input through the network and get values from output layer. Fourth, initialize random weight and bias. Fifth, go to each neurons which contribute to the error and change its respective values to reduce the error. A option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the order. B option 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is the order. C option 3, 2, 1, 5, 4 is the order. And fourth option 43152 is the order. And the correct option is D 43152. यानी सबसे पहले इनिशियलाइज करेंगे रैंडम वेट और बायस को, फिर इनपुट पास करेंगे नेटवर्क से और आउटपुट से वैल्यू गेट करेंगे, फिर उसके बाद कैलकुलेट करेंगे एरर बिटवीन द एक्चुअल वैल्यू एंड प्रेडिक्टेड वैल्यू। उसके बाद हर न्यूरॉन्स के पास जाकर जिसने कंट्रीब्यूट किया एरर में उसकी रेस्पेक्टिव वैल्यूज को चेंज करेंगे जो उसके वेट्स हैं जिससे कि एरर कम हो सके। और लास्ट है आपका रिट्रेट अंटिल यू विल फाइंड द बेस्ट वेट्स ऑफ द नेटवर्क। सो करेक्ट ऑप्शन इज डी 43152. Convolutional neural network can perform various types of transformations, rotations or scaling in an input. Is the statement correct, true or false? A true, B false, and the statement is false. So B false is the correct answer. Which of the following gives non-linearity to a neural network? A. Stochastic gradient descent. B. Rectified linear unit. C. Convolutional function. D. None of the above. And the correct option is B. Rectified linear unit. If you increase the number of hidden layers in a multi-layer perceptron, the classification error of test data always decreases. True or false? A true, B false, and the statement is false. So B false is the correct. What is the sequence of the following tasks in a perceptron? First, initialize weights of perceptron randomly. Number 2, go to the next batch of dataset. Number 3, if the prediction does not match the output, change the weight. Fourth, for a sample input, compute an output. And the correct option is A 1234 or B 4321, C 3124 or D 1432. And the exact answer that follows this is D 1432. So correct option is D 1432. इसका मतलब है सबसे पहले इनिशियलाइज करेंगे वेट्स को परसेप्ट्रॉन के, उसके बाद सैंपल इनपुट के लिए आउटपुट कैलकुलेट करेंगे, ठीक है। उसके बाद अगर प्रोडक्शन आउटपुट से मैच नहीं करेगा तो वेट्स को चेंज करेंगे और फोर्थ सेट गो टू द नेक्स्ट बैच ऑफ डेटा सेट. So D is the correct option. In which neural net architecture does weight sharing occurs? A convolutional neural network, B recurrent neural network, C fully connected neural network, D both A and B. And the correct option is B और A दोनों ऑप्शन करेक्ट हैं. So D both A and B is the correct option. Batch normalization is helpful because A. It normalizes or changes all the inputs before sending it to the next layer. B. It returns back the normalized mean and standard deviation of weights. C. It is a very efficient backpropagation technique. D. None of these. And the correct option is A. It normalizes all the inputs before sending it to the next layer. In a neural network, which of the following technique is used to deal with overfitting? A. Dropout. B. Regularization. C. Batch normalization. D. All of the above. And the correct option is D. All of the above. We make use of a technique to deal with overfitting. Suppose a convolutional neural network is trained on image net dataset, object recognition dataset. This trained model is then given a completely white image as an input. The output probability for this input would be equal to for all classes. A true or false. So B false is the correct option. When pooling layers is added in a convolutional neural network, translation invariance is preserved. True or false? And the correct option is A true. Which gradient technique is more advantageous when the data is too big to handle in RAM simultaneously? A. Full batch gradient descent. B. Stochastic gradient descent. And the correct option is B. Increase in size of a convolutional kernel would necessarily increase the performance of a convolutional network. A true, B false. And the correct option is B false.